A school bus driver drops a special needs child along a highway and leaves him stranded there. What's worse, it's happened twice.
Yeah, so how did this happen? Why did the bus driver leave that child all alone? Brad Rogers has the answers tonight in a story you'll only see on 13.
Sorry, leave my kid out there in the middle of nowhere. I'm not happy with it.
My kid is furious. How could any school bus driver leave a student by the side of the road and just drive off? Let alone a special needs student like his son David.
I don't think in the middle of nowhere you should leave any kid off any bus or any special needs kid off any bus, and that's what happened.
David is one of 50 special needs students in southern Maine who attend the Real School in Falmouth. Students are picked up from their homes in the morning and dropped off that afternoon.
Every single day we're doing the very best we can to transport everyone safely from their homes to our school and back again.
A few days ago, David says he told the bus driver he was getting picked on and asked to get off the bus 1.5 miles from his home. When he started walking away, she drove off and called his parents. Yesterday, it happened again.
It did happen twice this week.
I got off the bus because of the kids calling me names.
The driver had to pull over to the side of the road because the student unbuckled his seatbelt and was exiting the van, and so she pulled over and stopped, and the child got off the van.
And she drove off again. David's father couldn't believe it. He drove a half-hour away here to Route 9 in the town of Pownell, where his son got off the bus. Only when he got here, there was no sign of David.
We drove around for 1.5 hours looking for my son, and they couldn't give us an answer except it was irrelevant that she left the scene. He was shivering when I finally found him.
The principal says the second time was the result of miscommunications.
The family was under the assumption that somebody was staying with the child, and the other staff person was under the impression that, she was told to just go ahead, and they were on their way to get him. And so she left.
They told me that they were on such and such a road waiting for my son. For me to get there to get my son, I figured somebody was going to be with my son.
The principal met with David's father, assuring him this would never happen again. In Minot, Brad Rogers, News 13.
The principal says David Kidd will now ride with a close friend to keep him from wanting to get off the school van.
Yeah, no word yet on if the school plans to make a bus driver change, but my kid says he's happy with his son's progress at the special education school. Well, a construction worker is being blamed for downing several power lines and causing a pretty big outage in Edgecombe.
It happened after an accident this morning and a close call. News 13's Steve Roldan has more on the outage.
We're told about 130 residents and businesses have been affected by this power outage. We're told that a worker was working on that excavator back there, took out a tension line attached to that pole, took out this power pole, and another one down there.
I'm okay.
Yes.
I'm okay.
For a woman driving through the area at the time, it was quite a shock.
I was coming to make the corner, and all of a sudden that whole pole fell down and the transformer fell down, and it almost hit my car, and I didn't know what to do, so I was stuck in the middle of Route 1 during rush hour traffic.
Terry Smigelski is shaken as she was starting her day at the Davis Island Grill in Edgecombe. She was traveling along Route 1 when the unexpected happened. Firefighters say a total of 2 utility poles went crashing down just off of Route 1. They say the chain reaction was caused by a nearby construction worker who mistakenly snapped a tension line. That tension line not only cut off power, but it also affected business as well.
I lost all my afternoon business. I had people check out at the resort because we had no power. I have to issue refunds. I've lost quite a bit of money today.
When emergency crews arrived, live wires were on the ground. CMP crews spent most of the morning cleaning up the mess and restoring power to customers.
But when the wire was down on the ground, it was live, so it's very, very important for everybody, just because the line's on the ground doesn't mean that it's dead. CMP has a saying, no line is safe to touch ever. Words to live by. I mean, if somebody had come up and touched that, we could have had a bad situation here.
It took crews several hours to repair the damage and get the power back on. In Edgecombe, Steve Roldan, News 13.
And considering how and where the accident happened, fire officials say it's lucky there were no injuries.
And as Steve mentioned, last check, all the power has been restored in that area. Well, the rain is moving in, and while it won't be a very nice day tomorrow, the entire weekend isn't going to be a total washout.
There you go. Meteorologist Tom Chisholm joins us now with the first look at your weekend forecast.
Very similar to recent weekends. This is a routine storm. The one distinction, the astronomical high tide near the coast. The gale warning up along the shore. That can cause a minor splash over along some shore locations prone to flooding at the times of high tide. Particularly strong will be the winds along the coast. Southeast, this is a look at Doppler radar showing the heaviest rain now approaching Cumberland County, especially in the central and western part of that county, the foothills and the Mount Washington Valley. That's the way the pattern will generally go overnight, although I do think most of the rain is going to be also filling in and affecting coastal areas, at least for a few hours later tonight. And the wind is finally picking up, averaging 15 to 16 miles per hour at the Jetport. That's why the gale warning is in effect, not so much for Casco Bay, but for near and offshore waters. Rainfall totals beginning to pick up a little bit as well. Our temperatures holding steady will actually rise towards daybreak. A lot of changes coming up this weekend with some rain and the hope for a little sunshine. We'll tell you when the sun comes back to your neighborhood coming up in just a few minutes, folks.
That'll be nice.
We'll be ready.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Well, some are calling them the perversion files. 20 years worth of records of suspected or documented child abuse by Boy Scouts of America volunteers.
Yesterday, a court order in Oregon made public those files from 1965 to 1985, identifying 46 individuals in Maine connected to 38 different cities or towns. Our Marissa Bodner is live with more on this story. Marissa?
That's right, 38 cities and towns across Maine, including Gorham, Westbrook, Biddeford, South Portland. I spoke with the Scout executive here at Pine Tree Council headquarters. He tells me the public has known about these files for some time, but he says the files have been kept confidential to protect the stories of those scouts and parents who've come forward in years past. The newly released files, formerly called the ineligible volunteer files, cover more than 1,200 cases of suspected child molestation or abuse. The LA Times documents a total of 5,000 cases between 1947 and 2005. Of the files on Maine, only 3 individuals are named, one of those being William Boyd Brown of Westbrook, banned in 1977. Pine Tree Council Scout Executive Eric Tarbox expressed outrage and sympathy today for those who may have been victims in Maine. I asked Tarbox whether the National Council might consider making those files public in the future to protect banned volunteers from joining other youth organizations.
Right now, the National Director, Michael Johnson, is proactively working with the other organizations. Whether or not the national office will move forward with that idea, I cannot say here at the local level, but I look forward to hearing the results of us collaborating with other people.
Tarbox says extensive background checks are done for anyone who wants to volunteer. He says there's also training programs for volunteers as well as scouts. And he says despite a public awareness these past several months that these files were going to come out, he says there's been a huge upswing in participation here at the Pine Tree Council headquarters for the month of September. Live in Portland, Marissa Bodner, News 13. Kim and Greg, back to you.
All right, thank you, Marissa.
Well, police are investigating an incident that left one man badly beaten in Westbrook last night. The incident occurred at this home on Dana Court. Neighbors say they saw blood around the door after the incident around that home, and that an ambulance took the apparent victim away from that scene. Police aren't saying what may have sparked the incident, but neighbors think they know what happened.
Drug-related, it appears to be drug-related. It can happen anywhere, Main Street to anywhere. Hopefully it doesn't happen here often.
Again, neighbors speculating. Police, they aren't giving away many details in this case, but they do say that charges are likely. Well, an Auburn man is behind bars tonight after officials say that he fired at police during a 6-hour standoff early this morning. Here was a scene on North Auburn Road this morning, a swarm of police shutting down the road as negotiators tried to reason with the 23-year-old man, identified as Dylan Brockway. His grandmother called for help just before 1 a.m., saying he'd been drinking and was threatening to hurt himself. Police were able to get to Brockway's grandmother, get her out of there while they were negotiating, they say. They took Brockway into custody around 7:30 this morning. There's no official word on what may have provoked the incident.
A sheriff is lucky to be alive tonight after a fellow officer accidentally shoots him at a firing range. Kennebec County Sheriff Randall Liberty, seen in this interview from last November, was shot in the back when a fellow officer's gun accidentally discharged. Liberty was wearing his Kevlar jacket, which caught the bullet, leaving only a bruise. The officer who shot him remains on duty. An internal investigation into the incident should be completed by next week. An update tonight on a shocking incident in Portland. Police continue looking for the man caught on video chasing a store clerk with a gun. That clerk, as you see, had to scramble over a wall before sprinting out of Teb's Smoke Shop on Forest Avenue to safety. If you know anything about this incident or who this masked man might be, you are asked to call police.
Now, your Weather Authority forecast.
Rain will not fall at a steady clip tomorrow, but will have some impact on outdoor chores and fun, as showers can fall at just about any time. And then there's the wind. A gale warning up along the coast now, and that is likely to stay in effect tonight and very early tomorrow morning as that low pressure area now just to the south of us begins to push on out to sea very, very slowly. A look at our time-lapse sequence over Raymond, showing the heavy storm clouds coming up from the south. There's Panther Pond in the foreground, and that's an indication that the heaviest rain is going to be occurring from the foothills into the White Mountains tonight and early tomorrow. Beyond that, just occasional showers in our forecast tomorrow. Follow the temperature trend. Looks this way. We start in the low 60s tomorrow, and then we bump up. I think there's going to be a brief time tomorrow. We get into a southeast wind, and that helps our temperatures rise to the mid 60s very quickly. And then late next week, we begin to cool down ever so steadily. So we see the advancing rain from the south on Doppler radar. On to our headlines. We're talking about coastal gale warning in effect. With the southeast wind up to 30 miles per hour. Heaviest rain will be from the foothills to the White Mountains, and Sunday is looking just a little bit brighter. Here's a look at the tide situation. We have a southeast wind tonight and early tomorrow morning, 15 to 30 from the southeast. Seas building to between 4 and 8 feet, and the visibility running 1 to 2 miles. Now, it's going to be lower for mid-coast locations and some immediate shore areas along with a splash over. That's because of drizzle and fog that's going to be working in with the very warm tropical layer late tonight and off and on tomorrow as well. So here's a look at the broad view. We have the rain that is extending and is now getting heavy over Cape Cod that comes up and over us tonight. About a 2 to 4 hour period of heavier rains even near the coast. I think that much of that is over in the pre-dawn hours. So tomorrow morning just drizzle and occasional showers, then it begins to dry out. And it takes this big polar vortex we call in the eastern Great Lakes to slide across New England. Sunday looks brighter because we'll be in this air, and then kind of a changeable sky late Sunday into Monday with a few scattered showers during that time. A quick look at the temperatures near and far, running in the 50s. Winds are from the southeast. Waterville 61. Even Coos County is mild. And briefly tomorrow, after a low actually rising by morning, we could bump it in the mid 60s very briefly before that cooler air begins to arrive. 57. Temperatures rising tonight. Tomorrow, a gray overcast. Periods of rain right along the immediate coast. Mid 50s, mid 60s a few miles inland, and touching 70 well away from the coast. On to the 7-day forecast. Looking this way, we're talking about, again, the showery rains late tonight and tomorrow. Sunday a little bit brighter. Monday and Tuesday are looking fine. There could be a few clouds on Tuesday, and then back into sunshine, but cooler temperatures by Wednesday and Thursday. And I think we're still on track to see late this month and early November some really pretty chilly air slide into New England. So enjoy the fairly mild temperatures early next week.
Yeah, make these, savor these. All right.
That's right.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.